Hey everybody, looks like we made it to another week. This is part 7 of how to paint a portrait in airbrush and ink of a Latin beauty. And this is the beautiful and talented Shanoa. She is a singer from Latin America. Mike S., good to see you. How's it going? So glad you can make it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color here. I'm not sure what just happened, but let's see if we just hit reset. And let's see, color got a little on the warm side, I think. So let's just go ahead and see if we could lower the saturation here, and I think that would serve us well. And let's make this a little bit darker. Tone, how's it going? Good to see you. So glad you can make it. Just going to go ahead and increase. There we go. Now we're talking. So now that's looking pretty good. And let's kill the saturation just a tad. There we go. That looks pretty close to what I have. Maybe just a little bit colder. Let's see. Wendy, Jacob, how you doing? Good to see ya. So glad you guys can make it. I'm excited. Let me go ahead before we start. And what I'm going to do is I am going to just go ahead and see if I could see this on my big TV. I like to see what you guys are seeing, so that's really important. So, hey, Brad, good to see you. And Mark, how you doing? 88, H8ER88. So that's cool. So we got a pretty good group here so far, and I'm happy about that. Let's go to, just going to go ahead and see if I could see part 7 just yet, but I don't see it. So maybe later. So I'm going to go back. Anyway, so we'll go back to that. So sound good, the quality is there. How's that? Everything good, I hope? So remember when we start, this is part 7. So usually hey Rick, how's it going? Good to see you. So glad you can make it. So we are at part 7, and this is the 7th and final part of this particular piece here. So I'm so glad Rick is here, and we got a really great group going on here, so that's very exciting. So let's see. So what I'm going to do is, I had the medium mixture because I was working on something else earlier. So I'm going to be working on the light mixture. Remember, always a light mixture when you're working on your piece for the first time, during the day. And because you just sort of want to just wet things up and sort of go in there and not make any big decisions because you are, how do you say, just getting reacclimated with everything. So Tone is a little under the weather. Oh man, so I hope you feel better. And Wendy, I think there's going to be more ladies soon. So I think, Wednesday's lady night, Wendy, right? How are you, Wendy? Good to see you. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go back. So what I want to do is make sure I'm not on autofocus, and I'm not. There we go. Make sure she's in focus. And we're going to just sort of work on some of these little hairs that are going into her scalp. You want a combination of hard and soft. You don't want it to be just hard edge. That's very important. So, and with the extreme peak treat arrow, with my modifications, this, you really can get these fine lines. Minus 39. Oh my God. Tim, did I get your email on the airbrush? No, I haven't, Mike. I'm going to check and see. Sorry about that. That is cold. Oh my God. So as you can see, what we're going to do also is we can do some details using reductive detail, which is just erasing away the negative space. You can do that. I'm going to put my gloves on. These are art gloves you can purchase. I like to purchase them on eBay. Those are real inexpensive there. I think a friend of mine, Christian, one of the ink flingers here, he got something like like 5 or 6 pairs for like $7. That's unbelievable. So as you can see, we can go in there and so that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to check on that, Mike. Sometimes my email's a little quirky over there, but I'm definitely going to check on that. So sorry about that, sir. So as you can see, we are just sort of fixing. There we go. And I really think that the picture is a little warm, so I'm going to change the color to make it cooler. And let me see if I just lower that saturation a little bit. Okay. Okay, that seems okay. It's not exactly the color I'm looking for, but that's not bad. Okay. So let's go ahead and just continue some of the reductive detail here in her hair. So we can, take away some hair and then we could put some hair in. And part 7 really is, part 7 is pretty much, just doing finishing touches here and there. So Mark asked how long I've been airbrushing. I would say I started airbrushing in 2010 and, really seriously airbrushing probably like 2011 and doing it probably 2012, 13 is when I started really catching on, It takes a while to catch on, of course, so that's pretty much what I think happened as far as when it really started becoming, when it really became a medium that I was really enjoying and I was knowing what I was doing, probably around 2012 is when I really felt like I knew what I was doing. So just forgive me. I'm just going to fix the color here. I'm going to reset the camera. I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on. And while that's going on, we'll just look at this angle right now. I'm just going to turn this camera back on and see what that does. Let's see. Maybe that will make things a little better. If I hit here, reset. Okay, see, now we're looking. Now that looks better. Sometimes DSLRs, they do some weird stuff. There, now we're looking good. Okay, great. So thank you for the on the progress there, Mark. I appreciate that. Yes, Brad, definitely helping others not have the mistakes I made, in the early years. The airbrush community was really open arms with me. I was an established painter in other mediums, and a lot of them were very curious as to what I was doing. Being a fine artist going into airbrush, I was sort of a curiosity, and so a lot of them were like, "What are you doing?" Fine artists usually don't go into the airbrush world. I already was, a professional artist for years when I started airbrushing. I started doing it, Mark, as an underpainting, for my pastels, and not taking it seriously in the very beginning, just as a something to help my pastel painting. But then I started falling in love with it, and then little by little, I got more and more involved, and just couldn't couldn't help myself, you know. So that was definitely, definitely, you know, a big change going from pastels to the airbrush world, because the fine art world really does not uh, take airbrush seriously. So it was sort of a leap of faith to go and make the change like that. But I really feel that airbrush is worthy of fine art, you know. Oh, thanks, Wendy. I appreciate that. So Brad and Wendy are currently taking my class, and they're amazing students. And one thing I wanted to say to you guys, right now my classes are, you know, the price. So I would definitely, if you're thinking of taking my class, I would definitely take it within this month, or, you know, or at least let me know, because the prices are going to go up a little bit. Uh, Only because they have to. So, but definitely, if you guys have a chance to, if you want to lock in the current prices, definitely do that, you know. And thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate that. Brad says that they are a top-notch bargain, and I appreciate that. I take my classes and my students very seriously, and right now I'm offering one-on-one instruction, which is valuable, something like that. And so basically, with the one-on-one instruction, we work on the same painting, and then we talk about it. I make changes on my paintings and show you guys what to do, and then assess your work, and then we just work on it together, and it's a lot of fun. I get a lot out of it, and my students are happy, and they come away with more control. That's my focus. Is not so much, you know, uh, the painting. The painting is great, but my focus with my classes is for you guys to gain unbelievable control. Yes. So, and hey, what's up, Arch with Emil? How you doing? Great to see ya. So Emil is a new airbrush artist. So he does digital. So I'm so glad you're here, my friend. How much experience would I recommend? Very little experience. I think if you have trouble, I think if you're airbrushing and you have some control, I think then that's a perfect time, because I'm the type of teacher who is going to help you at your levels. Not like you have to keep up. So Mark, definitely, I would say I'm the kind of person, because I taught so many people who started at zero, and they were creating amazing airbrush art within the first project. So that's exciting. Ah, great to see you too, Emil. So great. So that's so cool. Let me see if I can lighten her up just a little bit. Yeah, so the great thing about having a one-on-one class with me is that I go to your level. So it's not like you have to catch up to me. That's that would be horrible, right? So I think that's important. If you have someone like me who is basically going to, help you out and bring you up to my level, actually bring you up to my level, as opposed to you having to be at my level in the beginning. So so Brad is using Mike. He's using the Extreme Patriot Arrow, and with the modified trigger, which is really cool. And so I'm gonna go. Oh, I just stabbed myself. So be careful out there, guys. So what I'm going to do is just work on some edges here. I'm going to work on the edge here. Even though I'm working with the light mixture, I still have the ability to, if I'm working up close, to get a nice dark value. Hey Gloria, how you doing? Great to see you. So cool that you're here. How you been? Now Gloria won the painting of Alice, which was the last contest, and that was very exciting. And in our contest, remember, we're a smaller channel. I wouldn't say we're a small channel, but we're a small channel. We don't got 1,000,000 subscribers. We hit 2,600 this week, which is pretty cool as far as subscribers. But many more of you out there are watching the videos and following who aren't subscribers. So this particular giveaway that we're doing these couple of weeks is a year subscription to Airbrush Step-by-Step magazine. This is an amazing magazine, and it's just a great magazine that really teaches you different methods and different techniques of airbrush. And the editor over at the Airbrush Step-by-Step magazine was gracious enough to offer someone in our channel a free 1-year subscription to the magazine. Now all you have to do to enter this magazine is to, after the video is over, go ahead and comment and say I would love or just say I would like to enter the contest for a free 1-year subscription to Airbrush Step-by-Step magazine. So also you must be subscribed. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. And then what we're going to do, and I would say by the end of next week, we are going to see who are the people who did that, who commented either in this video or the video before. And at that point, we'll make sure you're a subscriber, and then we'll put you in the drawing. And next week, we'll find out who won. So this is very, very exciting. So really cool. Gloria, you are an artist already. You are an honorary artist. Okay, so you see, just little by little, we're just, with the light mixture, we're working on some edges, making some edges harder, making sure we have a good variation of hard and soft edges here. There we go. See that nice, beautiful hard edge I just got? And let's do the same on this finger here. Just not everywhere, just in one spot. This is a case where you would do parallel. Like I said, there are exceptions to every rule. Parallel, always parallel, perpendicular instead of parallel when using freehand shields. But there are exceptions to the rule, and this would be that exception. So yeah, there are exceptions to every rule, but the exceptions are rare. But I will point them out when they do happen. There might be a little bit of overspray, so I'm just going to look for that and see if I can find the overspray. Something just fell. I hope it wasn't that important. Oh, look at that. Mike actually made his daughter one. That's pretty cool. And so Brad said he bought a Vega about 20 years ago. Wow, that's something. And Gloria says she loves a detail on Shanoa's shirt. Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate that. And as you can see, I'm just moving around. So this is part 7. This is the final part of the painting. So when you're at this stage, basically you want to just pretty much assess things, see where things might be a little bit too dark. Where can you put more detail in, that sort of thing. So looking at her eyebrows, I can see that I can maybe do a little variation in the values here. That might work. So I'm just going to lighten up some areas here and there just to, be a little more true to what I'm seeing, right? Gloria is definitely an artist in the kitchen. She's just unbelievable. If you ever had Gloria's cooking, you definitely would be a changed person. I'm telling you. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's amazing how our artistic abilities are in different places. Some people are amazing at building things and just how they can do that, or fixing something mechanically. I can never do that, so I really admire someone like that can do that. They're an artist in their own right? Chefs, and so that's what Gloria is. She's a chef. That's it. Yes. She's a chef. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my pastel here, and I am going to take one of these stumps, or tortillas, tomato, but let's not call the whole thing off. Let's go over here and see where we could add some white to make her almost as beautiful as she is in real life. So let's do that. There we go. So what I'm doing is just creating the feeling of light on this side of her hand. So I'm just going to, with the white pastel, just take care of that. Remember, I'm not looking for teeny tiny details. If I do see them, I'm going to put them in, right? But I'm not going to go crazy and sort of get minute. This is no photorealism here. It's not my goal. My goal is to get a beautiful impression of the person I'm painting with a painterly approach. So a lot different than the photorealist. So, when someone's taking my class, it's not going to be like you're going to come away. Look, food doesn't count, Tim. With my class, you're not going to come away with this beautiful, incredible photorealistic painting, like everyone has the same painting and it looks great. That's not what my class is about. My class is an art class where you are learning about light and shade, about controlling the airbrush, about ink, about, you're like in a atelier in the 19th century French academic sense of the word. I was trained classically, guys. So when you take my class, you are being treated, as someone that's in a classical atelier, which is French for art school, I believe. And anyway, so definitely it's going to be a different experience, right? Gloria, they made cake and cookie stencils for airbrushing food. Food can be hard, Mike says. And Mike says, I made a mistake when I put my art station in the basement over the summer. I forgot it stays about 50 degrees down in the winter. Good idea, Brad. One of those portable heaters. I have one of them. And if the house is too cold, for whatever reason, that always really makes a big difference. I like my little personal heater. Just got to make sure you turn them off. Right? Those are, we have to be real diligent when those things are on. Okay, you see, I'm just now. Like I said, I don't look for tight details, but when they do come up, I do put them in. So you know, right here, you'll see I'll put in some tight details here on the other side of the wrinkle of her hand there, or crease, I should say. And now that's a little ardent, a little strong. So what you can do is, let's say when you are painting and the white is a little strong, you can definitely tap this. Oh, guys, and on my website, paintingglyphs.com, you would be able to purchase a fine art print of this. So for only $14.95 plus shipping, you can get a signed print of this particular painting. So, and the original is also available as well. And so let's see here. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to see where we can even, how do you say, we can even accentuate some things. Now here, the lights in her lips, we can definitely accentuate them. Just make them a little more front and center for obvious reasons. And also give her lips that sort of shiny, glassy look. They are wet, you know, or we imagine them to be wet. As you can see, by just doing a little bit of, just a little bit like that, a little bit of the white pastel goes a long way. You see, we could just create some variation of texture by just changing the tonal structure a little bit. Now, like I said, you can always, you know, tone it down, and that's easy to do. Just a few taps like that, and it's toned down, which is great. It's a great technique. And if you want to darken it, remember it is dark underneath the white, so if we just go ahead and erase, we should go ahead and expose some of the darker value underneath. Remember the 1 second rule, which means as long as you are painting, you should be looking. David and Steve, how you doing? Good to see you. Yes, Steve, the the highlights part, yes, and I appreciate that. And so as you see, we're just going to just create some little bit of a tonal structure here and there. So let's see. See right there in the lips, I just want to create a little variation here. So glad to see you, Steve and David, and so glad you guys are here. I hope you guys are doing, how are you guys doing today? And see if we can lighten this just a bit. There we go. Okay, so I had to leave it the way it was. So basically with the lips, and I keep moving around, I just want to make sure we get some of these variations here. With the 1 second rule, you know that you're basically going to be painting what you're seeing. You're not going to go off on your own, you know. You really want to pay attention. I'm going to darken this nostril just a little bit right here at the edge, just like that. Ah, good to hear that, guys. Glad that Steve and David are doing well. So cool. There's a little bit of darker value right at the edge of her lips there. Not all over, just like right here. See, just there. And then maybe just a little bit over there. So you see how I just darken that up just a little bit. And let's see, right here on this nostril, just a little bit darker. So with the Extreme Patriot Arrow, you can definitely get detail like that without fear of changing it or messing up. You know, it takes time, but when you do, so who got the $56 special? So that's interesting. So definitely want to hear who purchased. I know Wendy purchased a couple, right? If I'm not mistaken. There we go. Just pull this little value coming in a little bit there. And let's see if we could extend just a little bit of a haziness right over there. Oh, so Emil purchased the Sotar 2020. Very nice. So very, very cool. And yeah, I hear it. Sometimes, Mike, the sales happen when we don't have cash. And Brad bought his just before the special. That's a bummer. Uh, but you know what? Sometimes, the thing is with the special, you have to wait. So he would not have those airbrushes for a while. So he needed it. He was taking my classes. Uh, he has enough Badger, and he wants an Iwata, maybe a CMSB or another .18, So what's my recommendation for the best brush for the money? You guys know that already, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, is the Extreme Patriot Arrow. This thing is the most unbelievable airbrush. With the Extreme Patriot Arrow and you modify the trigger, this airbrush basically does anything that you need. And I like doing two things, getting the MAC valve and then the pack valve. Those two things you can actually go ahead and just, do these micro adjustments. You can even make adjustments while you're painting, Think about that. You can actually adjust to get bigger, and then as you want to get, you can even, those are some things that you can do which are really great. Under $100, and I won't steer you wrong, and I would have to say, I would have a lot of doubters, but I can get better detail with this than I could with any custom micron. Any custom micron, any day. And, that's just, there are some things with this airbrush, the way that it's made, even though it's not made for super tight detail, with a few modifications, you can do some amazing things with it. And if you ever do decide, Steve, to pick one up, and it is for a song, you can get it for next to nothing, let me know and I'll go ahead and tell you some of my modifications. And I have some very unique modifications with this that really takes this airbrush and sort of makes it a turbo, so that's very exciting. So pretty soon I'm going to have some exciting news. I can't say anything just yet, but there are going to be some exciting things coming down with the channel, with me, some very positive things. So I'll be happy to share that with you within the next few weeks. So we're still with that light mixture, and as you can see, we're just having a lot of fun but we're being real diligent to make sure that anything that we see, any incongruency, we're going to go ahead and fix, right? So that's going to be very important. So right here, we're going to maybe darken up the tendon here on this hand. There we go. You know, Mike, I never polish my needle. You know, I heard that people do. I never, I never felt the need. Gaston does it, and I have to get a Dremel tool because Gaston says he uses a Dremel tool to do it. If you haven't met Gaston yet, he's an ink flinger and is part of our group. He does some amazing hacks, just fantastic. Oh, you're welcome, Steve. Thanks for asking, my friend. So at this stage, there's a lot of moving around, and let me go ahead and just continue to work on the back of her hand here. 1 second rule is going to keep me from sort of going in my own direction, right? We don't want that. We want to stay true to what we're painting. We have to be present, right? So you have to really concentrate. So as you can see, concentrating that hand makes it a little more. I told you they have nice Dremel tools at Harbor Strait. Yes, when I get the funds, I'm definitely going to go there. So that's going to be fantastic. So I'm making a whole new set of the ink mixtures, and those are going to be with even improvements to it. So I'm making some improvements always to the ink mixtures. So don't forget, it's $16.95, and you get the medium, the light, the dark, and I'm going to throw in the light mixture. So you're going to be all set, which is really cool. $20 is really, really great. As you guys know, I'm really big into going to the gym. Not because I'm buff, because I want to be in shape, and so that takes up a lot of my expendable income. The gym's not very expensive, but for someone like me, it is, Gym memberships on different gyms are less expensive, but the gyms that are less expensive are just further away, much further away. And so still with the light mixture, let me go ahead and soften this up over here. So right here, her nostril looks a little bit square. So let's see if I can round that off. Remember, when you're painting women, you want to make them more round, or not more round, but you want to make the features soft as they are. If you make them harder than they are, then she's going to look a bit less delicate, or not less delicate, but less feminine, and you don't want that. Mike says, I disappoint you. I should go for the female figures to paint. Well, I always paint both male and females, female nudes. But, it's because there's, for both of them, it's really fantastic. The male nude in Western art, in tradition, just has a lot to offer the artist, and same thing with the female nude, Mike, and so it's always important to do both, because when I'm painting the male nude, and then when I start painting the female nude, my female nudes actually come out better because of what I learned from painting the male nudes. The edges are a little more hard edge, there's more reflected light, stuff like that, and I could look for that after painting the male nude. So all the great artists do both male and... See, that's the difference between someone like me. Hey, Wendy, glad you're back. Eat more bacon, Steve said. Definitely. More bacon, that's the way to go. Of course, these views do not express the what is it? The opinions of this channel. That's too funny. Yes, so all your great fine artists always did the male and female nude, because one really helps the other. I'll give you guys a case in point. Here's a male nude that I did that I'm working on, and you can see that you learn stuff from painting a nude such as this. Is not done, of course, but all these different variations and the way that the forms come out and go in is a lot more. How do you say? It really teaches you about light and shade and how light reacts to form and how to stay with forms as they go back and forth. So Wendy liked that one, I could see. So Pit Pastel is the white, yes. And Mike says, I wonder how much money you could make taking your art album to the gym or beach and get the gals to have their image painted. Or just they might punch me if I ask them. Yeah, I do need models to pose for me, but it's really hard to ask people. For me, I'm kind of a shy person, so I do have my favorite models, that I use, but they're not always available, so that makes it hard. I much rather pose my own models. That's always the way I would like to do it. But when you don't, you have to talk to photographers and ask to work with them. So yes, yeah. So Wendy says she takes someone to ask with her. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's an interesting concept there, Mike. You never know, right? Uh, yeah, I've done it and I've been successful. I mean, actually, probably successful at least 40 to 50% of the time. It's just I'm really shy, and it's really difficult for me to ask. And it's not like anyone will do. It's a certain look, and it's not necessarily best you know, appearance always, It's a certain look that I go for. And yeah, I do get shy about it. So here we have, which is really interesting, there's a lot of variation here in her eye. So let's blow this up. Let's take it up a notch. Isn't that what our friend Emerald would say? So what we're going to do is we're just going to tap in and see how with the lower eye area it's not just this flat value. See that? And you'll see that the difference is very slight but still very important. Same thing with the upper part of her eye. Let's go ahead and make sure that we do show the light variation. Remember, this part is turning towards the light and then it turns away from the light. So we have to describe what the form is doing. I think that's the beauty of painting, right? Is to really, thanks Mike, thanks Steve, I appreciate that. And so what we're doing is just modeling the form. And that's going to go a long way. Now, okay, so you say to yourself, now what? I went too light. Oh no. No, you just have this kneaded eraser. You put it to a point and you tap. and you have ever so much control to go ahead and just release just the tiniest bit of pastel so you get exactly what you're looking for. So right here with the white of her eye, I need that eyeball to look like it's going into her head there. So I'm going to take my Extreme Patriot arrow and we're going to lower. And then let's go ahead and see if we could just darken the edge. See that? Just darken the edge there. Just a little bit. Now we got to watch out for spidering here. See that? See, what I want to do is I want to feel like her eye is going under that eyelid. So that is maybe 80% looking at the model and maybe 20% adding some things to accentuate what you want. See that? That's important. And then we have the edge here. So I want you guys to look why I like this airbrush. See, that's why I like the airbrush. Remember, now this painting is really small, so look at the size of my thumb, and so that is how big I'm actually working. Remember I said there were some variations in her eyelash there. So let's go ahead and remember the space is just as important as where you put in. Now we did have a little spidering, but you're not going to see that. This is totally micro, so no worries. But you can just go over that with pastel. Little bit of spidering, but at this small level it's really not going to show up. See that? Just really the tiniest of detail here. There we go. I really want to show that ledge, right? That ledge is so important to me. And let's accentuate that ledge by putting the ever so tiniest line. Look at that. There we go. See that? Just that little tiny line right there. You take a little bit this white pastel. There we go. I think that looks pretty good and pretty happy with it. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, everybody, for saying such nice things. Wendy says he likes the way I'm putting makeup on her. And yes, the frosting on the cake, guys. That's true. Thank you so much for that. But definitely, let's move on to eye number 2. And so, really not much detail going on here. Very little, but let's see if we could accentuate some of the positive. Now, a little bit of the white pastel, and we could just sort of fade this light in the corner. Just fade that out a little bit. And then over here we have a little bit of light coming in there. Now, so we have some dark here, little accentuation right over here. So remember, we want to make this feel like her eyeball is sort of going into her head. I know that sounds gruesome, But you know, when you really understand what's happening or try and visualize what's happening, it's a lot easier. Uh, oh, Gloria's gonna do her makeup when she goes out with her husband. Yes, definitely. Yes, the nice part about the ink is that you can get a fine line, and it really is when you're working with the light mixture. You know, there are differences. You know, light, medium, and dark mixture. If you're gonna do really tight detail, then you want to go with the light mixture. If you want to do medium amount of detail, like more form, working on the big shapes, you're gonna use the medium mixture. And then, of course, when you're doing darks, you know, and dark accents, that's when the dark mixture comes into play. But when you're doing tight detail like this, you uh, definitely have to go with the medium mixture, you know. So I'm gonna do your makeup, Gloria. Oh man, that's cool. Can I do it with ink, Gloria? That would be great. uh, oh, that's funny. I can paint all kinds of interesting shadows and stuff. Same thing there. We're just going to, you know, work on some of these beautiful edges here. Now, we always have the white pastel at this stage. If we feel that a line is a little harsh, you can just soften that up so easily. And that's and why do we use white pastel? Because we can. That's why. We're not working on wood, right? We're not working on even if you're working on wood, we can, but we're not working on a car. If you're working on a car or doing a mural, you can't use white pastel. But if you're doing something like this, white pastel is your secret weapon, you know, the thing that takes it to the next level, you know? Yeah, I like, you know, if I did women's makeup, then you guys wouldn't be so mysterious. And I want women to be mysterious. I just want you guys, you know, I don't want to know all the details of how you all got so beautiful. I just want you to be beautiful. That's it, you know? That's that's how it is. You know, if I started going into makeup and women's fashion, I think I would lose. You would lose that women would lose that mystery. I like mystery. There we go. Now that's a little ardent, a little strong, and I'm going to go ahead and tap that. There we go. Drama. Yeah, tone it down. Yes, very true. This is a no drama zone. These websites, I mean, these my live streams are no drama. Yes. Drama happens after the camera is off, not on anymore. But, you know, as far as live streams, the world's a perfect world. It's all about art. Here we go. There we go. See how I can just the slightest little bit here with the Fonz and Porter. Remember, all the items that you are seeing that I'm using are in the description field. There is a uh, link to my Amazon store, and you can purchase things there. Let's go ahead and work on the hair, shall we? Let's just do a little bit, not crazy. This is not about hair, you know, not a it's all about Shanoa, painting this beautiful woman. And we will always keep the mystery, Gloria says. And we, that's right. Yeah, there should be a book about, you know, about that. But it would be a very big book. It'd be huge with small type. Right, Gloria? This pastel finish always gets me going. Thank you. I really love your work, Steve. So your work inspires me too. So I appreciate hearing that very much. So now what we can do, remember we wanted to do the negative space. So sometimes you can go ahead and paint the negative space, not always a positive space. You're not just painting hair, but you can paint where the hairs aren't. And that will help describe the hair. So that's pretty cool. Yes, the fabric pen, Fons and Porter, which is really great. I don't go too crazy with it. I use it sparingly because it does have a different sheen to it. Now, look at this here. If you ever see that, your hairs are getting, or, your shapes are getting pretty much even, you want to go ahead and eradicate that. Remember when we were painting hairs and stuff like that, nature is always irregular. So our human brain wants to make everything regular and patterned. So we want to get away from patterns. So you see how I'm saying that looked too much like a pattern. So when I went ahead and then just said, you know what, I can't have a pattern. So then things look better. Look more believable. Looks more believable when it's not the human mind or subconscious mind hasn't, messed things up. So right here is another case in point and a very good lesson for you guys. Like I said, painting the painting is secondary. Teaching you guys is primary. See how these two things are pretty much the same shape? That's our natural proclivity. Our natural proclivity is, okay, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to paint everything with regularity. But we are going to fix this by getting rid of that. Remember, always try your most aggressive eraser, and if that doesn't work, then progressively get more aggressive. Progressively get more aggressive. That's funny. Okay, so you see how we got rid of that regularity and how that creates a more organic feel. And that's what you want to do, that organic feel. Laying on a little bit thick with the ladies. I always try and lay it on thick with the ladies. That's why I'm so unsuccessful, I think. That's okay. So we're just going to continue to make sure that we're doing hair, that things are organic, right? Now, I did have the Blackbeard wheat, and I want to show you guys that in a moment. So if you guys haven't gotten Blackbeard wheat, find it at your, like, they're really hard to find. I don't really find them at Michael's anymore. Sometimes in their floral section you'll see them. Hobby Lobby might have them because Hobby Lobby is great. I love Hobby Lobby. Big fan of them. Big fan. Big fan of Michael's? Not so much. Okay, so let's go ahead. See again, when I see things looking a little bit on the even side, I definitely have to fix it. So your Blackbeard wheat falls apart? Okay, well that happens, but you have a lot of them, so that's good. So let me go get it. Talks among yourselves. Actually, only going to be like 5 seconds. I don't think you guys are going to go away in 5 seconds. Let's see. So I'm still here looking for the Blackbeard wheat. Still there. I did see it up here, and maybe it fell behind. Where is it? I have more. I have actually a whole bunch of this Blackbeard wheat stuff. Okay, here it is. It was right in front of me the whole time. So here it is. If you guys get a chance, definitely purchase this stuff. It is great, fantastic, amazing. What it will do is, yes, true, Michael's only has the plastic plants, and that does not help us at all. So what we want to do is we want to create a nice base of lighter value for the hair. So you see that, and so the way I paint hair is pretty much how an oil painter would paint hair. I don't paint hair the traditional airbrush way, you know. I look for larger shapes. I see the hair mass as a three-dimensional form. That first I see how it's being reacted to light. I'm not seeing individual hairs at all. All I am seeing are the large shapes that are being affected by the light source or sauces. Not sauces like tomato sauce. uh, and Mike Emil says, Tim, what type of pastel are you using? Very good question. So this is Faber-Castell makes the Pit Pastel pencils. And this is the white. So you definitely want to pick this up. And you get a piece of sandpaper like this, and you just scrape it like that, and then you just pull it off with a stump, and then you have it like a paintbrush. Really, really just open things up for you, Emil. So highly recommend it. You would do this only in the end. You know, you wouldn't do this later in the game. That's something that you don't want to do. So remember, if you start doing tight detail in the beginning, where you going to go, you know? So you want to, your detail has to be saved for like this, part 7. This is actually the 13th or 14th hour that I'm working. So think about that. So this is actually hour number 14. So you figure you want your painting to be 14 hours. Oh, you know, Emil, it's my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. These live streams, really cool people like yourself, and we just exchange ideas and make pastel painting more fun. Not pastel painting, airbrush painting more fun, and bring your airbrush to life. You're not working. See, the thing is, if we were working with acrylic, we would have a lot more issues. And for those who are beginning, this is definitely the way to go, because it definitely is much more 90 hours, Wendy. That's a lot of hours. Unbelievable. Adjusting. Yes, Steve, definitely. So you see that we are just working on how the hair is being affected by the light as a big shape. And then we're going to get into small shapes. And Mike says, Tim, you could use wire if you can't find that weed you're using. Yeah, you know, you can. I've seen it. I hate it. That's just my own thing. I don't like it. I just never really enjoyed it. But that's just me. You know, we all have our preferences. I just never liked the wire. Maybe I'll change my mind. That's my prerogative to change my mind later. But right now, me and the wire don't get along. I just don't like the feel of it. I guess the fact is that, you know, wire is very non-organic, right? And I like the fact of having something organic and painting, having something organic to paint organic, right? That's much better. And this is basically one of the few things I would use as a stencil, quote unquote, only because of the fact that you really get a sense of the, how should I say, you get a sense of the organic nature of hair. So I'm using this soft erase. It's by Factice. It's the I think it's the CW12. It's very soft and I really love it. And I use this to get some larger areas like that. So you see how now it's different. I'm not being so literal as far as small shapes. Small shapes are coming. You're going to see that before this painting is over tonight. So, but isn't that beautiful with this technique of using my India ink airbrush paints, and also with the paper, that even in the later stages after going with the dark, you can really do some amazing things. Yes, you can mix your own, of course, but you know what? I'm changing the mixtures. There's a lot more than just water and ink now. I put some other ingredients to keep from tip dry, and also I'm using distilled water, which is just better in the long run for your airbrush. So I'm doing a lot of different things to improve the airbrush inks, but also these are, products that you can mix it yourself, but it won't be the same. And whenever I do mix them for you guys, if you do order them, every single bottle is hand calibrated, meaning I test everything. So you're going to get something that I would use exactly. So if you're following along my technique, when I hit the light mixture and you hit the light mixture, we're on the same page, right? So that's very important. Don't they make real long toothpicks you could use also? That's interesting. A lot of different things, and that's great. I like that thinking. Keeps the paper from yellowing too, right, Tim? Now, what keeps the paper from yellowing? The distilled water? I'm not sure. Just if you could clarify that, Mike, that would be great. So now we're going to take the light mixture, and we're just going to make sure we reiterate these shapes. See that? We're just going to reiterate those shapes. Let me pull the camera a little bit further down so you can see the hair more. Oh, the distilled water. There's so many good things about distilled water. Oh, thank you. Brad says he's grateful for the ink mixtures. Thank you. That means so much to me because, the ink mixtures were created for you guys in mind, really are. I think I went too far, guys. Let's go in a little bit. There we go. Now we seem to be in much better shape here, so you guys can see the hair. God knows the things I've used. That's true. I heard so many cool things being used, right? Nothing is off limits. So here's the Blackbeard wheat. So you see, let's see if we can go ahead and blow this up. This is the beauty of Tim's DSLR live stream. Don't try this at home. No, go ahead, try it at home. So see, we have the Blackbeard wheat, and what we can do is go ahead and spray through, and you should see a little bit of an organic quality to the hair. Same thing here. And I do love that, it really does make a difference. Same thing here. So you just get a nice organic quality, and then we pull out, you can really see how things are looking really organic, and you can do that with the edge work too. So let's say we have, we can just come in with the edge here, and then we can get some really nice edges. And even, go along in a linear way, and you just get like one particular line. Now that in conjunction with, what was the color of this paper? This color was light gray. Yes. No, pebble gray. Yes, I think it's pebble gray, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. I can go look at my stash over here. It's 184 pound correct. It's 184 pound is just amazing, guys. So the color here is, drum roll please, pebble gray. I also been using dark gray, and also if you guys can still find it, I highly recommend this. This stuff is great. Gunmetal, Canford cardstock. They don't make it anymore. If you can find it, I highly recommend it. So, but yeah, 100. Well, this is like 94 pound, but the color line pebble gray that I'm using now, which is my favorite all time, this is 184 pounds, which is very thick. It's like thick cardboard and won't warp at all. So it's really great, I just love it. So as we're working on this hair, you can see we can do a variety of techniques. We could Now you can raise the air pressure with the pack valve, get exactly what you want. So we can go in and do individual groups of hair, and you don't got to go too crazy, you know. You don't have to get every single hair. If you look at Rembrandt's paintings or Vermeer's, okay, quick art lesson. So let's see. So let me see if I can pull up. We're going to add source. We're going to go to devices. Nope. Let's see. Media files. Okay, so I'm going to look for a media file where I could show you what the old masters do. And I think this would be, you know, a really good reference point of what we should look for when we are painting hair, and not get so involved in the whole airbrush world of painting every single hair. Yeah, it's impressive, but you know what? Is the hair the star of the show? That's the question that the old masters asked. And they came up with a whole different answer than what you would normally get. So there's no hair here, but let's go to downloads. I'll just be one moment, guys. Let's see. So in downloads, I know I have some Angra paintings and stuff I can show you. But the whole thing is, you want to look for the masses of the hair. You want to look for the large shapes first, and then just indicate where the hairs would be. You don't have to go crazy with every single shape, you know. You can just pretty much worry about the large shapes and then indicate just here and there. It's much easier. So let's see if I could find, you know, it's funny, I have like pictures all over the place when I'm not looking for them, and then when I'm looking for them, it's like I can't find them. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. Okay, here we go. Here's an Angra. Everyone knows Angra is my favorite artist. We'll look at him first. So here we have Angra here. And you can see when we look at Angra, perhaps if I zoom in, nope, it won't zoom in on that. But look how the hair is very simplified there. That's a big difference, right? Than what you would normally see people doing. It's very simple. So that's very important. So he's not worrying about every single hair, right? And then we can go and look at another one. And there was another Angra over here I want to share with you. Like I said, this is just like my one-on-one classes, you know, my workshops. I'm not just painting with you, but I'm teaching you how to, you know, see as an artist, as a fine artist. So here's an artist, Hans Holbein the Younger. He was a court painter to King Henry VIII. And look at that beard. Now, no one's going to say that his work is you know, murky or unfinished. This is just a beautiful painting. And look how simplified that hair is. Look how simplified that beard is. If you would have went in and did every single hair, would that be better? No, it would be different, but it's not better. I'm just showing you guys the fine art approach of doing things. Sometimes less is more. So that's just something I want you guys to look at. Next time you're painting hair, go ahead and check out the fine artists out there, and I think that would really help you guys out. So I got some questions here. Let's see. Mark says, Tim, you're on some type of table easel or flat table? Correct. It's a flat table, and he's looking for a new comfortable easel. I have a bad back when I'm contorted it really burns through my airbrush time. Yeah, I would try a vertical easel, which I have in the other studio, and then this way. This way, you have to work small. If you're going to be working, let's say, horizontal like this, you have to go ahead and work small. If you're working vertical, you can work a lot bigger. But whatever feels more comfortable, Mark, that's what you want to do. And so I started doing the flat horizontal for the live streams, but I do that in most of my paintings now. The pop is happening, the impact is apparent. Yes, absolutely. Let the viewer's eye. Yes, exactly, Brad. Blended for us. Yes, and that's exactly what the old masters do. So, you don't have to do all that work and just go crazy with individual hairs. Just doing indications like I'm doing now, but in a way that is based on doing the larger forms, right? The larger forms are important because that's what's going to carry from far away. When I do group shows, one of the expression for a painting that really stands out is that it knocks all the other paintings off the wall. That's what you want to do. You want your painting to really, from far away, you want it to sing, and you want it to grab the person's attention. Doing every individual hair, you'll grab the attention from 12 inches away. But you want to grab the attention from maybe 6 feet away or 10 feet away, right? That's the question. And that's what the old masters were questioning too. So, with me, you're going to learn how painting has been done and how it's applying to airbrush as a fine art form. And not so much trying to impress or wow everybody with all these little details. In reality, you wow people with a great painting, with a painting that is solid, right? So Mike says he bought an aluminum easel on eBay and he thinks $10 to $15 adjustable in height. He thinks it will go on hold 16. Those aluminum easels are good, but they're not as sturdy, right? But, as long as maybe you can prop it up and make it a little more sturdy. But they make all kinds of aluminum easels, so those are pretty good, Mike, definitely. Thank you for that suggestion. So what I'm going to be getting soon, well, not soon because of funds, but what I would like to get is, so I went ahead and just used a freehand shield and darkened around that finger. If you want something to come forward, you darken what's next to it. What is adjacent to it is going to be real key as to how dark something is going to look, right? Yes, exactly. Less is more, right? Definitely. It collapses like 24 inches tall. Very cool. Just going to take a quick water break. So have you guys used these gloves? And do you find that you can't paint without them? Because I find that with the gloves, at least I'm not going to go ahead and, smudge things up. Wow, all that talking is very, very thirsty. Hey, Gerald Mendez, how you doing? The acclaimed airbrush artist, Gerald Mendez is here. So what an honor. So cool to see you, my friend. How are you, Gerald? Yes, and Gerald is amazing. He just was in Europe, right? And if I'm not mistaken, you were in Ecuador. Is that true? So, this is so exciting. What a wonderful treat to have Gerald Mendez here in our live stream. So thank you so much. So Gerald, I don't know if you guys seen Gerald's work, but just some incredible things, Just his stuff is so amazing. So I want to show Gerald one thing that I do have, and I know he's going to be excited. This is one of the stencils that I do use, and this is Gerald Mendez's stencil, which is good for like texture here and there. So definitely. So this is one of the most incredible stencil for getting texture, and that's Gerald Mendez FX. So definitely look into that, guys. So right now what we're doing is we're just working on the large shapes, and then we're just going to go into the small shapes. So we're getting very, oh, my pleasure, Gerald. No, people should know about that because that is a really good, a good tool for texture. So as you can see, even here, this is a small area for hair, right? Just right here. But without it, if we don't pay attention, this area is going to look like what's going on here. We're not going to really feel her hair moving down. We're not going to even feel how long her hair is. Both very important elements, right, to describe her. So that's what we want to do. So we're just moving down. There we go. And so remember, you always want to try the least aggressive eraser, and then as you go, if the least aggressive, then you just go more aggressive as you need. So with here, we need just a little bit more of an aggressive eraser here. So we're using this Perfection, and look how small it is. I use every single. You can tell when, you know, artists are not the richest people in the world, you know, rather than, I'm going to use every single piece of this, so that's pretty funny. So as you see, we're just going to erase the lights, and then we're going to go in more detail, but first we want to look at the big lights and darks, what's happening. So as you can see, this is pretty broad as far as detail goes right now, and then we're going to go in there. Gerald says he loves the quality of my artwork. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, my friend. Thank you so much. Wow, that's a big honor. I really appreciate that, Gerald. Thank you. And Bradley, how you doing? How's it going? Bradley is the owner of an Extreme Patriot Arrow, and so I know he's doing some great things with that. And so as we are going here, now I'm going to come in with the Blackbeard wheat, but I'm going to be a little careful because if I go over that hand, I'm going to be crying. And I don't want to be crying. Not on a live stream, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay close because we don't want any overspray. And we're just going to do that just to get a little bit of a texture here. And let's see if we can do that over here. There we go. Just a little bit of a texture. Same thing here, but just at the end, not at the curve. Just that where the dark and the light meets. We want to get that organic feel, you know? I won't cry, I promise, guys. So, Gerald, how was Ecuador? I always wanted to go there. I have a couple of really good friends from Ecuador, and they all seem so sweet. So, you see how I go from the broad to the specific, and that's what we want to do. And so as you see, just these little things of worrying about the large shapes and then getting specific, we really can get a sense of just the right amount of detail. Not too much, not too little. Oh, thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. Always helping you guys out, and this live stream every week. I look forward to it a lot. This is like the highlight of my week. Now, what we can do here, and here's something that I like to do, is I want to accentuate this just a little bit. So I'm going to take the pastel. I know Emil was asking what pastel, the Pit Pastel. I'm going to go ahead and rub that just like that. I'm going to take my stump, or tortilla, how you want to say it. And now just as remember, where it's most facing the light is where you're going to see the brightest whites. And that rhymes. Gerald does amazing work, and thank you so much, Mike. That's fantastic. Thank you for saying that. So what we're doing here is just a little bit right at that moment where the hair is turning right most light facing. And you see, now we feel that hair starting to turn. And that's what we want, that directional, right? Gerald is amazing. And so Steve asked if Gerald was colorblind. That's an interesting question. I can't imagine because his colors are amazing. Gerald says Ecuador was awesome. He went to Quito, which is the capital. And then Argentina had a great time. Oh, wow. So fantastic. Wow. Did you get to go to Guayaquil? I have friends there too in Ecuador. Seems a lot of artists are in Ecuador, right, Gerald? Very artistic place. So as you can see, now I went ahead and added just a little bit of light. Didn't go crazy, just a little bit. Same thing here, just a little bit. And so here we are at, the final hour, part 7 of this live stream. Of this painting. We've been painting this now for almost 2 months, right? So it's all coming together. And so as you can see, all these little nuances, like right here, there might be a little bit of light just hitting right there. Maybe just right here, there's just a little bit of light hitting there. And just here and there, just even go ahead and get our fondant poured. Remember, all tools are on the table, right? So let's go ahead and just get some individual hairs here and see where they're most light facing, and that's where we're going to go ahead and put them in, which is pretty cool. Now we can go ahead and use the white pastel pencil for itself. So right here we have a bright light in her shirt. So we can go ahead and do just something like that. Like I said, everything's on the table here. Nothing's off limits. And we have some bright lights in here in this clubbing shirt that she has. So we can just go ahead and put them in. Let's do that a little bit here. Like I said, this is the final part, so you sort of, like a crescendo of activity. So as you see, we can really come in with some detail here. Make that shirt really come alive. And you don't have to do every sequin, we just can move around, just get an idea of what's happening. That's all. The idea sometimes is even bigger than the actual, documenting everything. Mike asked Gerald, how long have you been doing airbrush art and art? That's a great question. So, and let's see what else. So as you see, we're just pulling that down here. And let's go ahead and just continue. What a difference, right? Just here and there, just doing some details, some of these really beautiful bright lights. Making little details here and there, just like over here. We can just, some of these details are really on her shirt, are just catching the light for whatever reason. Maybe they're just turned towards the light or something like that. See that? And just, we got the light source right here. There we go. So Gerald says he's been airbrushing about 30 years, and it does show. That's amazing. Now Steve says, so amazing the way you put it all together. Gerald, you pull it off so nicely. Yes, it's so true, Gerald, you do. Bradley says his best friend as a kid was colorblind and couldn't tell the difference between red and green. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Brad, Marie has been painting for 2 months, so in airbrush, just amazing, you know. We're all on the same path, right? That's how I look at it. So as you can see, this whole part 6, we have been working with the light mixture because we were just doing subtle changes, nothing big. We already did our dark accents last week. So right now we're just doing some real subtle changes. Now, working with pastel, we actually have the ability to go ahead and paint and put in light without having any blue shift. That's the beauty of the pastel. Now, why pastel? Well, I've been doing pastel since the 80s. I was a pastel artist, exhibited, you know, I'm a signature member of the Pastel Society of America, about 30 or 40 national, international awards for pastel. So just saying that, that's how pastel made it into my airbrush art. That's how it is, you know, like, you know, your background is always going to make its way into your work. If it's having to do with painting or not into painting, your background is always going to make its way in, right? Stephen, good to see you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So Stephen's been in the game for over 25 years. That's amazing. So glad. That's fantastic. And let's see. Now, Emil says he hasn't been airbrushing yet, but he started being creative artist for 20 years. Yes, Stephen goes ahead. I mean, Emil does digital art, which is fantastic. Now, I have a good question. I'm starting to get into digital art and how it applies to my teaching as well as applying to my artwork and also working during downtime when I just have my computer and away from the studio. What do you guys feel, and Gerald as well, the importance of digital art for the artist? What do you feel about that? I would love to hear your thoughts before I say my thoughts. Because, you know, definitely, you know, with your experience, I know you do some digital artwork, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true, Gerald? Yes, painting late, Stephen. That's definitely true. So look at that. Tom's been painting since the late 80s. That's great. Oh, oil painting and drawing, traditional. That's fantastic. Yes. Your work. Oh, that one painting, oil painting portrait you did that I seen, Emil. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just fantastic. Well, I appreciate that, Brad. So as you can see, the hair, we pretty much was working from the large shapes to the small, and that's what we're doing now, just working from the large shapes to the small. Now, where can we work? This is the last 25 minutes of this painting. I'm going to end it where it ends. You know, I'm not going to go ahead and noodle about after it. This is the live stream. It's been painted during the live stream, and when I'm done, I'm done. So that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is really assess this and say, what is it that I can work on? Like the hair on this side of her, there might be some little details I can do. So this is ridiculous working this small. Let me see if I can scrounge up. Oh my God, look at that. It's no better. I must have a better one. So I think Tim needs to go to the Blick Art Supplies in Paramus. What do you, okay, this is a little bit better, right? Unbelievable. So let's get this, and let's go ahead and there we go. Get a nice, beautiful point. There we go. Well, almost. Okay. Perfect. So now we're going to just go ahead and see if we could create little larger areas of hair on this side. I really don't want to lose what's happening on this side if I can. There we go. Fumes, Tone, fumes. So he was spray painting walls, and oh, I see. Yeah, in New York, graffiti art is really big. It was big when I was a kid. Were you a kid in the 80s like I was? So graffiti was huge back then. On the trains, right? You know, some of those trains, and it was serious stuff back then, remember? If someone ever wrote on someone else's graffiti, people got shot for that. Of course, New York City in the 80s was a lot different than anything going on now, Tone, am I right? New York City in the 80s was totally different. It's no mistake that the movie The Warriors was made in the 80s. That's all I have to say. Oh, great. So Gerald says digital art changed his life, opened many new doors. It allows him to do digital illustration work for Disney and do many other incredible projects and speed up my work, his work and creativity. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that insight. See, that's what I was thinking, you know. Just opening up the creativity, right? It does not taking away from your airbrush work, but it helps it, right? Do you feel it really helps your airbrush work when you go from digital to airbrush and vice versa? Oh, the 70s. Oh, you stopped in 82. Okay. Okay, cool. Now, 82 is when I started going to High School of Art and Design in the city. And so that was when I was really, you know, I went to school in Manhattan in my junior year, junior high school, and art school. I was in New York City, and I was all in the 80s. But I was blessed to live in New York and go to those incredible art schools and have those incredible fine art teachers. It makes me the artist I am today. So that's when you take my classes, you know, you have the ability to learn all the fine art stuff that I've been accumulating over the years. So I just love the way that her lips. So you use mainly Photoshop and Illustrator. You know what I love, Gerald? I love using Krita. So I started using Krita and I just love it. Very similar to Photoshop. And yeah, so you know, I have a book on it right now, and I'm always studying, learning the keystrokes. All that stuff is so important, you know. Oh, I like that. Even though it's not in the reference, I do like if I just add a little bit of a highlight or form light here on the top of her nostril. Now, that's not in the reference, as you can see. I'm just putting that in because I kind of like it. Kind of like the way that looks. So Emil says digital art is amazing. You can we can check his channel and have some time lapse. I did see that. Now you have Emil. He has a time lapse of Will Smith, which is out of this world. You know. Oh, you graduated. Okay, only 4 years different. I graduated '85, so you're just a little bit older than me. So that's cool, Tone. So Gerald. So Steve says to Gerald that he may have a tool that can help all colorblind painters, and he'd like for Gerald to check it out sometime in the future. That's wild. Yeah, that's very cool. So yeah, I mean, I do love digital art. Let me show you guys very quickly something that I got. Remember, guys, I am a big fan of the public library. If you don't have your card, just this is digital painting techniques I learned, and these are just some books on a book on how to do different techniques and stuff like that, step by step. And so that's cool. So if you ever want to learn something, always, go to your public library. You're going to find so many great things there. And also, when we go to the library, we support the library, and it's a place where kids can go ahead and hang out and stay out of trouble, especially in the cities, which is really cool. Tone says, shh, that's funny. Yeah, I think the 80s was a great time in New York City. During, we had Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat, Julian Schnabel. So many really, really interesting things were going on there in the city. Debbie Harry, right, with Blondie. The art scene was really exploding back then. Right now, I think the art scene is kind of fluttering right now, Be sure to join Ink Flingers on Facebook. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Wendy, for mentioning that. It's a great group. So, yes. So, definitely a great group. So, Brad might be older, but he looks young, and that's important. And he feels young. It's not exactly your age that counts. It's how you feel. That's why I go to the gym, guys. Raises that testosterone when after I go to the gym, just feel better, I can't imagine not going. Some individual hairs here and there, rounding out this painting here. Now you can actually, just like the airbrush, when you do a dagger stroke, you can actually just sort of flick it. And remember, if you ever get too strong with the white pastel, you can just tap it with the knead eraser, and you can take off as much pastel or leave on as much. So Gerald says he never uses pastels in his artwork. Does it leave noticeable residues? And how do you blend like high spots on the nose? It's great. Pastels is probably the softest edge medium you can ever imagine, Gerald. Great question. What happens is that you could actually just build it up, and there are different grades of pastel. There are hard pastels and softer pastels and everything in between. So let's say you want to first do your lights. Then you would use a harder pastel. And if you see on here, I have a little bit of softer pastel. And what I can do is I can grab that softer pastel, and then I could go ahead and just tap for that highlight. And it doesn't leave any residue. What's really great is that you can airbrush over white pastel. They work so well together, it's almost not fair, right? So you can actually just build up the light so beautifully and so softly, which is really great. So I highly recommend trying it if you can. Just a white pastel, just if you're working on paper, just a nice way to. Now, great thing about pastel is if you want to shape it or calm it down, you just tap it and ever so lightly makes a big difference. So right here it is just this tiniest little bit of a light, and I'm just gonna tap it, and you just have just these ultimate amount of control, Gerald, which is really great, and they really go by. Yes, time did go by fast. That's so true. Uh, graduated in '78. Okay, so still in the same time period, same generation. Wendy, that's cool. Time does go by fast. And so you see with the white pastel, also like with the airbrush, right? The more you pull back or the closer you are, the darker, the less you pull back or the further away, the lighter. When applying the white pastel, just like in digital painting, is pressure sensitivity. So the lighter that you go ahead and apply it is the less amount of pastel that's going to be on there. So let's say you want to increase it or increase the opacity of the white, then you press down a little further, a little harder, and you see I can increase the amount of white pastel. And then you can even blend it out by just slowly decreasing. So many different ways to use pastel, plus you can blend it and stuff like that. So it's so friendly. If you haven't tried it, Gerald, definitely do. I'm here if you have any questions. But if you just want to add a little bit of a highlight, and it's going to be under glass and framed, definitely white pastel is going to be your friend. It's really going to give you that added bit of magic. So here on the lips, I'm going to take some of that really super soft pastel, and I'm going to really tap that. I'm going to want those lips to really come forward, just like that. So I really want this to be a piece where you really feel her gazing at you. So you see, I can take that and just do some really beautiful hairs here, which is really cool. Let's see. Now, this is a good question. A couple of good questions. Someone says, Brad says, do you put fixative over the whole painting? Never. Fixative over a painting is always bad because you're going to change the texture and you're going to darken the values. And why did you work so hard? You don't want to change that. If you put this with a matte under glass, you are good to go. And it's going to stay fresh as the day it was painted for hundreds of years. So that's exciting. So Gerald says, do you recommend any kind of brand or kind? If I use over an aluminum panel, will it be clear? Will be cleared works well? You mean doing a clear coat over this? It wouldn't work. No. I don't know. I mean, I never tried it, and that's the great thing. The pastel would definitely be a disaster. But if you just did the India ink and you went ahead and did a clear coat, I'm not sure. That's a great question, if I got that question correct. Mike says, before the end of the first quarter report card of 11th grade, he blew out of there. Oh, wow, okay. It's not for everyone, So what I mentioned before, but Tim, it's also the paper, correct? Yes. So this is the 184-pound Pebble Gray by Canson. Now, Canson has different kinds of paper, so you want to get the Colorline paper by Canson. And this is the best paper. It's 184 pounds, so it's almost like illustration board. It's so thick. You can hear it, right? Listen to that. Almost sounds like aluminum, right? Which is really cool. Now, Mike says, is this pastel oil-based? No, this is dry pastel. Oil-based would be a disaster, so never do that. So that's important. So very, very important. So that's a good question. Oh, so Steve graduated in 75. Okay, we're all in the same ballpark, so that's cool. So very cool, Steve. His 70s, that was an interesting time, right? Um, so right now I'm just going to continue. So here's a case in point, Gerald. So okay, I went a little crazy with that white. So oh no. But the great thing is that with the control and a kneaded eraser, we can just go ahead and just tap that and just calm it down as much as you want, which is fantastic. Uh, yeah, so with the paper, if you were going to go ahead and just put it on the glass, it just works really well. And it'll just stay fresh, like I said, fresh as the day it was born. So being a pastel painter before I came to the airbrush world, that's why the pastel had to make it into it, right, somehow. And yes, experience is true. And let's say, so that's very true, Stephen. Gerald says he airbrushes a lot of candy colors on metal, wondering if I can do fine highlights with pastel, but it must be clear coated. It's interesting. I'm not sure how that would work. I don't, maybe on a practice piece, give it a try. That would be fantastic. So Brad Smith says he remembers correctly if he tried to use ink once on metal and cleared it, the tube dissolved. Come on, dissolved the ink. Oh boy. Now this ink is waterproof, but solvent proof. That's another different story, right? So I think it's different worlds colliding there. So I'm just going to just play around here in this corner, and then if I don't like what I did, I can go ahead and, oh man, with a bad knee. Okay, I hope it feels better, my friend. Wow. Yeah, so definitely is interesting as far as but that's when things happen, when different worlds collide, like my pastel world collided with airbrush, and this technique came about. So that's great. Those are important questions, trying different techniques, seeing different techniques and everything like that. All very exciting stuff. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. So guys, what I want you to do is go ahead and hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and comment after the video's over in the comment section of this video. And if you do that, you will be in the running for a free 1-year subscription to Airbrush Step by Step magazine, which is very cool. So remember, like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and just leave a comment after the video's over, and or leave a comment on the video before this, and just say you would like to, win. So next week we're going to announce the winner of the 1-year subscription to Airbrush Step by Step magazine. Oh, that's fantastic, and I'm here for you if you have any questions with pastels, Gerald. So it's my pleasure. So that's exciting, It's exciting how we can all, sort of influence each other. So that's so cool. And Mike S says he doesn't hose the clear on spray light coat first and let it by putting a good coat on it. Okay. So this is and this is where you can really assess it. Oh, you're very welcome, Brad. Brad says thank you. So Brad is taking a class with me Friday at 8:30. So I'm going to see Brad Friday at 8:30. Now I do my classes via Skype, and they're really fantastic. So I'm looking right now and seeing if there's any spots that are too strong, and what I can do is lightly tap where I put those pastel and just calm it down a little bit, and that makes a big difference. So same here, maybe I could lighten some areas up real quick. Now this is the final moments of this painting. So this is Chenoa. She is Chilean, and she's an amazing talent. I think she won the sort of the Latin America version of American Idol several years ago, and that's how her career really blew up. So that's an interesting bit of trivia. So that's pretty cool. My guess says a lot of people put too heavy a first coat. I can see that. I don't know too much about that, you know. But the way you guys do the clear coat, and I see Gerald's clear coat stuff, I'm like, oh my God, that stuff looks amazing, unbelievable. That's an art form in itself, right, guys? Whew, I'll tell you. I just love the way her eye is coming at us and sort of falling into her eye, you know, I kind of falling into her head, you know. Wendy says she looks beautiful, and that's so cool. And yeah, this is fantastic. We're in the last 5 minutes, so we are going to go until the end. You know, I'm gonna give you guys the full 2 hours because you guys deserve it. And I really, really thank everyone for hanging out with me on this Wednesday. So cool, you know. And I do this every Wednesday, even during Christmas and New Year's, right, guys? I was here. I remember 4th of July, it was just me and Joe, Jersey Joe. There was just a couple of us on 4th of July. So, you know, we've had some pretty wild live streams, especially during the holidays. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. Thanks, Tone. So this is all very cool. So, you know, when is a painting done, right? And that's a good question. How do you know? And you just know, you know, you just know that you did everything you can, that anything else you do, you're just not going to, how do you say, it's just not going to help it anymore. Now, do you ever go away from the painting and say, hey, this painting's perfect? No. There are things in every painting that I look back and say, that was a mistake, but I use that to be a focus in my next painting. So that's what I do. So that is something that I always try and take away, something that was lacking in this painting that I can make for the next one. So let's see. So Gerald says, Tim, can you recommend a particular brand of pastels? To start with, there are two. There are Cretacolor set of pastels. They're hard pastels, the 72 set. And then also Rembrandt has a portrait set. Those two sets will really help you. And then the Faber-Castell has a beautiful set of pastel pencils. If you do those set right there would really set you up to do some really wide range of pastel abilities. So Brad Smith says, beautiful, Tim, as always. Thank you. And I'm excited to hear that you may go and try out pastels. That's so exciting. Yeah, Bradley says it's amazing. Thank you, Gerald, for giving us the honor of joining our little live stream here. It was such a great learning for everyone, and being so gracious to answer questions. That was just amazing, and so this was definitely a very memorable live stream in this particular episode, and we definitely thank you for that, Gerald. Really do. So that's so cool. So like I said before, it's just that is not Lady Gaga. Oh, now Steve Johnson I did a Lady Gaga about 6 months ago, or maybe even a year ago, and Steve actually went ahead and bought that painting. So he's the owner of that one. So cool. And so isn't that neat? So, a lot of memories, doing the live streams now for 3 years on and off, like real solid for a year and a half now. And just so many memorable moments, Thanks, Gerald. You're awesome as well. So this is all So cool. So very cool. And so, Gerald, when's your next live stream? Do you have it scheduled yet? So, we can go and support your live stream as well. If you ever seen Gerald's live streams, they're amazing. And so here we are. Okay. And so fantastic. And so it really is a pleasure to hang out with you on this Wednesday night. And so Wendy says this is probably now her favorite. Wow, thank you. So Steve says, really enjoy the demonstrations. I appreciate that so much, Steven. It means so much to me. Doing a mixed media art piece soon. Oh, and I'd love to hear about it. Definitely. And so keep an eye out for Gerald's live streams on Facebook. I believe they happen on Tuesdays. So definitely check that out. Steve says, great as always, Tim. You guys are the best. I can't. Oh, every Tuesday. Thank you so much. Every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock for us guys here and girls here out in the East Coast. So definitely Tuesday. Let's go ahead and show some support to Gerald. And oh, look at that. So Emil just subscribed to the channel for Gerald. That is so fantastic. Guys, thank you again. This was really one for the record books. I hope you have a great week, and I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care of yourselves.